Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mack
Mack Flash.
Mack Flash. We're back. The Quack Attack is back.
We don't take that.
My name is Matthew. I am here with Scott. I am here with AB. We are going to talk about some movies. Gentlemen, today's topic is movies that came out when we turned 21.
Yes.
Now, we were all born different years, so we all have different years to talk about.
Some of us long ago in a galaxy far away.
I'll be talking about movies. I turned 21. I was born in 1985, so I turned 21 in the year 2006. Mm-hmm. So I'll be talking about movies from 2006. Scott was born in 87, correct. So he'll be talking about movies in 2008.
The dreadful year of 2008. These guys know how much 2008 was not a great year in film.
AB, like he said, was born when a long time ago was first printed on T-shirts.
That's right.
In 1977.
Yeah.
So he will be doing movies from 1998.
Correct.
Now we picked the age of 21 because we did an episode a while back about movies that came out when the year we were born.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to honor this year of 2021, we picked the age of 21. Now we're recording this, it's June 2nd, but it's going to be airing. And the reason why we picked it for today is because it's going to be airing on July 6th, which is my birthday. So to honor the changing of that age from 35 to 36, we're going to talk about, movies that came out at a certain age.
Happy birthday, Matt.
Thank you very much.
As this is airing, it is near birthday.
Yeah. And yeah, it might come up later for one of my favorite picks. So even though I picked it, and I don't know, since Scott was dreading the year, I don't know if he wants to go first to get out of it first. I just want to save my number one for last.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go first then. I don't mind. Where to start? So we'll go through. I'm going to kick things off with my number 3. And as I was saying with 2008, I want to paraphrase and I want to start here. It's an interesting year in film. There's obviously, if you look through, you go, oh, most of us remember 2008 in film and where we were and I saw everything this year. I remember seeing everything. If I didn't see them with my friends, I was seeing them on dates. And I saw just about everything, pretty much on the regular. So I have a good context of where I was in my life. 20, my birthday's in December, so I turned 21 3 days left in the year. And aside from 2 Titanic-sized films that I was talking about with these guys that shaped film moving forward, both being comic book films, neither made my list because we talk about them all the time and they don't need any more. Otherwise, I wanted to highlight some other fun movies that I thought through the years. And as I was going through, my list changed a million times. I changed it up until 20 minutes ago. My number 3, this movie here was not on the list, was back, forth, and I thought, you know what? Let's just get nuts. Let's have fun because these are going to be movies that are never going to come up. There is literally no opportunity that these movies would ever be on another list again. And I thought, that's kind of fun. And this movie was an honorable mention, but I thought, you know what? There's so much to talk about with this movie because I saw it. It was a colossal bomb of the summer. But it encompasses everything about 2008, that it was like daring, that it made some choices, that it was ahead of its time, but it wasn't received well, and it flopped and it bombed. And I just thought, you know what? Let's get crazy. So my number 3 from summer 2008 is Speed Racer.
Yeah, buddy, for sure.
Yeah. So Speed Racer, I watched it again, and I wanted to squeeze it in, and I watched this morning, and I was able to do it well. I couldn't look away. Visually, I have never seen a movie like this. This is a movie that I remember seeing it with Matt. We were the only 2 in the theaters, and what an experience this was. I was like, this is unbelievable that the Wachowskis would be able to go from the Matrix trilogies, the dour, sour, dark, dimly lit trilogy, into the very somber and like angry V for Vendetta, to follow it up with a Speed Racer live action cartoon CGI hybrid, and it got crushed for the Uncanny Valley. But we've come around on this, and I think part of the reason too was how ahead of this time this movie was a year before Avatar, And James Cameron does this, and it's acclaimed, and it's the greatest thing in film ever in 3D. But this movie, I think, had a budget of like 140 million and did about 80. And a lot of it was from the Asian market because, again, Speed Racer and the anime property of that. But watching this again, it's almost two movies. Emile Hirsch and Matthew Fox, who made it. AB and I were doing some Matthew Fox talk. 2 movies this year. Got him on one. That's my guy playing Racer X. Are in a totally separate movie with the the family aspect in that. His brother and the chimp are that stuff's very, very kiddish and very G-rated, and that's fine. But like everything else that Emile Hirsch is doing is like this corporate espionage, come race for us, Days of Thunder, mistaken identity. There's a speech in the middle about how to make the stocks go up and down. And you're just like, this movie is very adult in theme. But again, as I said, I cannot applaud it enough for like the unbelievable visuals. Even the scenes in the bedroom when Susan Sarandon's talking to Emile Hirsch, who's her son, you're just like, these colors pop. Everything about this, like these sets and how they filmed it, this is unbelievable. And you see how sometimes performances can be wooden in instances like that. And you look at the prequels, and there's no doubt in that. It's easy to get engulfed in the all blue or all green screen setting. But having John Goodman in this and Susan Sarandon as the parents and Emile Hirsch, who's an unbelievably I was all in on Emile Hirsch at this time. He had this and Milk in the same year, and about a year or two removed from Into the Wild. I thought he was going to be the leading man. But you can really see how like well and thoughtful and like heartwarming the family and the story and the aspect is. So a little bit long, a little bit bloated, got destroyed in reviews and did not make its money back, largely forgotten. But my number 3, because I wanted to get weird with my list, was 2008 summer blockbuster Speed Racer.
I think you hit the nail on the head that a lot of people have come around on it, and I know it's grown a lot of like a small cult following.
Yeah.
And I know that the fans of the show really like it because it's like you said, apart from adulting up a lot of the scenes to make it not just a goofball movie. It's pretty accurate to the look and everything. It's pretty accurate to the cartoon.
And you look at it, and I don't know anything about the cartoon. You just know a bit, his suit, he races, and it's like, yeah, again, the animation style of it, but like to give Racer X's backstory and that, and like how they tie that in, and like his brother died and why he races, you're just like, there's a lot of stuff in this movie. Yeah. And again, like I said, 2008 is a lot of slim pickings. There's a lot of comedies, but like I said, I don't really want to spend my time talking about, the Step Brothers that'll come up on another list down the road. Like literally, Speed Racer could not. Like if you even did racing movies, I don't think Speed Racer would show up on my list. But looking at it through like again new lenses, I was like, yeah, 2008, man. I had a fun time seeing this at 21. Well, at 20.
That's fun. Yeah, John Goodman. He's a really good actor. I really like talking about him, but
cool.
Maybe I'll talk about him later.
Well, right now, what do you got for 3?
What I have for number 3. So like Matt said, my year is 1989. Oh my gosh, 1989. I'm so old. Wow. Typo. So I am not that old. I am there we go. Much better.
That was great.
1998 movie came out. It was a debut from a guy that we know the three of us like by the name of Guy Ritchie. His debut movie came out called Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I don't remember. I wouldn't have seen this at the theater. I would have seen this. I would have rented this at Blockbuster, just based on the name and the very cool looking cover art, because the cover art was really neat looking, and the title is killer. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Like what's this all about? I'm in on this. Let me check this out. And it did not disappoint. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is responsible, like I said, for introducing us to Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie, who came out of the gate just blazing and then end up making some of the worst films I've ever seen in my life, and thankfully has returned to make a couple of great ones in a row.
His only bad movie is the one with Madonna. Everything else is good.
What
King
about
Arthur's good, Aladdin's good.
Okay, all right. Well, I just recently watched his newest one that just came out last week from when we were filming this, Wrath of Man, and it was excellent. Also starring somebody from here, which we'll talk about. It is responsible for introducing us to this guy, which is Vinnie Jones, who was an ex-soccer player who was basically a soccer hooligan, known for being tough as nails. He transitioned that into a film career, which he's done, I'd say, fairly well for himself, playing big bads a lot, and not just one-dimensional big bad. He's played some pretty cool characters, but it also is responsible for introducing us to some guy you may have heard of him, Jason Statham. This is his film debut. We had never seen him before, and he introduces us. He doesn't play he's part of the foursome that make up the main four main characters in this. It doesn't really stand out, I would say, in this compared to the other guys. He's he's good, but he's not great. He doesn't. I'd say he really breaks out in Guy Ritchie's next one, which is Snatch, in 2000. But it was his first on-screen role, and so one of the other things I like about this film is that one of the main characters' dads is played by this guy, Sting.
Wow. I did not know that.
So I guess I'll kind of break down. If you've never seen Snatch, if you've never seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels before, there is four friends who have put up £25,000 each for their one buddy to go into this local poker game run by a local gangster, and so that local gangster ends up cheating. The guy loses, but not just loses, he ends up owing more money than he even started with, and owing it to this gangster. So they have to now come up with this cash in within a week, or Sting, his dad, loses his bar and they lose some fingers, and other bad things ensue. So they have to come up with some crazy ways to make the cash, and so I won't get into the plot because it gets pretty crazy, like a lot of Guy Ritchie crime movies do. One of the things I like about Guy Ritchie is that he is great at bringing an ensemble of creative characters together, and introducing a bunch of zany characters into a crime story, and just letting the story play out and with those characters. And Lock, Stock has those characters in spades, just like the rest of his crime movies. And the dialogue's super funny, and the action, he's known for his slow-mo action sequences. This one's got it, and it's got everything. It's got some action. It's really funny. And it just was nothing I had seen at the time. It was one of those things where I was watching it on VHS, and like I said, I was attracted to the title, and I was just like blown away. Like, what is this? Like, what's going on here? It was like this caper, funny, like goofy, but really cool, super cool caper going on, with all these neat like British characters, and I was all in. So when Snatch came out in 2000, I was front row center. I'm like, not literally because I hate the front row center, but you guys understand what I'm saying. I was front row center. I'm like, I'm all in on this Guy Ritchie guy.
First in line.
Yes, I was first in line to see a Snatch in the theater, because I was like, I got to see what this guy does next. And you're going to tell me that he's got Brad Pitt in tow. He's got a bigger budget. He's got Brad Pitt. Let's see what this guy can do. And I was not disappointed. So yeah, Snatch is my number 3.
Great.
Oh yeah, awesome, Bell. I mean, Guy Ritchie, Snatch is where I first heard of him. And then I went back. I was probably gosh, I was a little late to the party. I mean, late, probably mid 2000s, because I remember going through Snatch and then going back and doing Lock, Stock, and I believe I owned it in a pack of 4. I think I have those 2, and like Bugsy and Bonnie and Clyde or something like that. It's like a random 4 like
crime.
thing. Yeah.
Crime
And I've only seen it the once, but super cool. That's like the thing about Guy Ritchie and like Statham, like they just ooze British like underground cool, and like that's all that movie is.
For sure.
Yeah, it's like a modern Get Carter in the fact of just like everyone's badass and everyone's cool.
Yep.
And you don't want to mess with any of them.
Well, like I said, it's like I said, like you just said, he's super cool. Everyone's like kind of is badass, but also everything is goofy, like too.
Yeah.
It's like they're badass and you don't want to mess with these guys, but there's that layer of funny too. There's like each character has his own little quirks, which makes them funny. And so you kind of laugh and like, man, these guys are great. I wouldn't want to mess with these guys, and you're laughing with them and at them too, which is what I like too about Guy Ritchie. Matt,
Excellent.
what do you got at number
Okay.
3?
My number 3 is a film from one of my favorite directors, writers and directors, and even actors and podcaster. That's his career now, Kevin Smith. Before this came out, the first movie I saw of Kevin Smith's was in theaters was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, because his movies are all rated R, so I wouldn't have been allowed to see them before that point. So I saw that. I had seen everything else previous to that on VHS and DVD, caught right up. And then when it was announced that this Clerks 2 was coming out, that's not the right picture. And it's okay because my screen's not up yet.
I knew this is
Well, I'm glad it's not Cop Out, because I was like, was Cop Out 06? But thank God.
So when Clerks 2 was announced, I was extremely excited, and Kevin Smith's online presence had increased like 100% previous to this. So he was always podcasting about, the where they are in filming. He'd let, not things slip, but he had a video blog on his MySpace page that would frequently update on like the guest like cameos that are going to show up. And I was just, this is amazing. It was Wanda Sykes and Earthquake are going to show up. Jason Lee was on set. Ben Affleck was on set. Everybody, from previous View Askew movies were coming on. I was like, this is going to be the best one of these movies by far. Now, the reason Clerks 2 was kind of made was because after Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, that was kind of going to be the end of the View Askew universe. Jay and Silent Bob were going to be put to the wayside. He had, far more better movies in his head that he wanted to tell. Well, the movie he told was Jersey Girl. And,
Jersey Girl rules. Jersey Girl
is really good.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, we may think that. A lot of people did not, especially, ticket holders who decided the box office wise did not succeed, his expectations. So he went back to the well in almost a literal sense. I think the documentary that fits with Clerks 2 is called Going Back to the Well, the Clerks 2 story or something like that.
That's good.
But just to quickly, Dante and Randall, they are at the beginning, as the movie starts off, they're still working at the Quick Stop until it burns down. And they have to get new jobs at the fictional fast food restaurant in the Kevin Smith universe called Moobies.
Moobies.
And fiction anymore. It's real.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's been doing pop-ups all over both countries, here, Canada and the US. It moves on. Dante is getting married. He's engaged. He's weeks away from getting married, moving to Florida and saying goodbye to his wacky pal and the 2 drug dealers who stand out in front of his restaurant. And he's going to start a new life. But he's conflicted because he is in love with the store manager, Rosario Dawson.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, she's unbelievable. That's insane casting.
Front and center on the poster.
Oh yeah. She should be.
And the 4 original cast members they might as well be out of focus.
Are there 4 people on that picture? I don't know.
Well, let's see.
There's only one. Okay, yeah.
Woo-hoo.
There we go. I only see one there.
It's a hilarious movie, a perfect sequel to the original Clerks, and a great. This didn't end the Views universe either, but we kind of thought maybe it would have. So it was a great, bookend as far as the career or the movies fit. Clerks 2 are perfect bookends for the Views universe for sure. I don't know what else I can say. It's on my list. I was going through it and I was like, Clerks. I wrote it down. And then I said, do I have enough to say about Clerks 2? I mean, these guys know how much I like it and how much I enjoy his career. And then I remembered, just right before, COVID had hit, but this was like February of the year 2000. True. And we got to go to our last con for now in Michigan, the Astronomicon, where I got to meet and get my picture and autograph my Clerks DVD of Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson, Dante and Randall. Cool. This was an amazing day, and I'm so glad we got to fit that in before the Earth blew up.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, very cool.
You know what's funny? I didn't realize. So going back to Clerks 2, I do want to talk about this. 2005 is probably my first. No, I was definitely in high school, but I remember Ain't It Cool News and Joe Blow, and I remember being on Joe Blow every single day, and I remember a lot of that. I remember the picture of Jason Lee on set with the My Name Is Earl mustache, and me being like, "Oh, that's cool. He's not going to be in the movie because he's famous doing this show because that was like the biggest comedy on TV." And he was there with like the pop collar, and you're just like, man, they're buddies. Like he's coming back. Like this is a sweet big deal. And then same thing with Ben Affleck. I think was on the Smokin' Aces set or something.
Yeah, he had his handlebar. Not to be outdone, Jason Lee's mustache. Ben Affleck had the full handlebars. So he was doing Smokin' Aces.
They were back, and that was super cool. And I remember, like, you're absolutely right. When you think about that, you're like, that was probably, to put in context, like I go to Joe Blow every single. I'm the Cal Ripken of going to Joe Blow. I go to Joe Blow 10 times a day, every day for the last 15 years. And that was 2006 was probably my first foray into being like finger on the pulse on like internet news. And I can remember, and you're right, it did tie to Clerks 2. Last thing I'll say too, Jeff Anderson bringing it, unbelievable final scene.
Time.
Like not out of the movie
like,
at all.
What movie is this? And he talks about how he's like vomiting, like sweating, being like, I can't deliver this. And you watch it and you're like, Clerks is just what it is. But then you see it and you're like, oh, this, and it goes with Kevin Smith as he ages and he puts heart into it. It can't all be, just nonsense, and it never really was. But I mean, a woman fucked a corpse, or in the first one, so he's a little bit more like grounded in reality in 2. Sorry, dance numbers, but unbelievable stuff in the final bit of that film.
Randall is a character based on Kevin Smith's friend Brian Johnson, who used to work at the Quick Stop with him, and Brian Johnson was that guy who was so annoyed by customers coming into the store as if it was their right to do so, and then make offhand comments about them. So Kevin admired this guy, wrote him into the script as a character Randall, and the reason why Randall is so funny and has such great material and all the best lines is because Kevin wanted to play that role himself.
And
then he said, I'm going to direct it. There's no way I'm going to remember all these lines. I got to find somebody else to do it. He held auditions. He knew Jeff Anderson from high school. He came in because Jeff was like, oh, maybe we'll get to meet some actor chicks at some drama chicks at the auditions. Kevin's like, here, read this. And that voice, very much, he's perfect for like voice over acting. A very unique voice. And he was just like, can you play Randall? Because for Clerks, the movie was made with $27,000. And, didn't know this would. I mean, it didn't really launch Jeff Anderson into an acting career.
Didn't want it. The sounds of it was like, thank you.
He's got really great delivery on that really sarcastic, mocking delivery. He does that very, very well. So like, unless he continued to do that over and over again, I don't see him doing anything else, but for that he's perfect. And like him making fun of the Lord of the Rings and all that stuff in here is
an absolute Lord of the Rings hater at peak time to be a Lord of the Rings hater.
It's like, I love Lord of the Rings and I was dying laughing because it's true. So
cool.
All right,
I'm going to take us to 2s here. So I don't know how to set this one up. Big around awards season. My 2 and my 1. I'm really happy. I'm really excited to talk about. And with my 2, it's a movie that AB did guess. I liked it at the time. I was off the subject matter until me and the subject matter came back hot and heavy a couple years ago. But I'm going to be talking about The Wrestler, directed by Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so 2008, this was Mickey Rourke's, Renaissance satellite back to orbit comeback tour. It's funny, in the summer you got Downey's comeback tour with 2 films he was in, and then in the fall in the awards season, it was really, the award season was kind of manhandled by Sean Penn from Milk, and who ended up winning the Academy Award, and Mickey Rourke, who was giving a tour de force performance. I watched this again last night to prep. It was probably the 3rd time I've seen it. I saw it when it came out. I saw it when I got back into wrestling. I got back into wrestling probably late 2016, and I've been a fan as a kid. Always respected the sport. It's an incredible sport, and it's great. And as I get back and I have the WWE Network, and you're watching these documentaries, and you really dive into the life of the pro wrestler, especially now in 2020 and 2021. It's bigger than ever. There's Vice's Dark Side of the Ring, the A&E biographies. It's incredible. There's this untapped area for telling wrestler stories. We're getting a Hulk Hogan biopic. They're trying to do a Vince McMahon one. There's a boom coming.
Now, do you think that is? I think that's as a result of The Wrestler. Like The Wrestler kind of gave you that peek behind the curtain to everyone, like non-wrestling fans, this kind of paved the way for people to be interested and be like, I want to know more.
I want to dive into this because you're right.
The real stories, right?
There is, and that's probably a big catalyst of that too. I think this movie came in at a really interesting time for professional wrestling as a sport, because it was 2007 when Chris Benoit killed his wife, his son, and himself, and that's where wrestling changed dramatically. Essentially from pro WRASSLIN, that this movie really is wrestling in a gym, just 2 sweaty steroided up men, to the head troubles that he experienced, into athleticism, sports entertainment, and now it's akin to like Marvel comic books, superheroes, and it's very clean cut, the PG era. It's totally different from this. So yeah, we're an older society, we're longing back for the 80s and 90s of the pro wrestling that we wanted. And you're right, this movie came at the perfect time to like catapult those stories. And it's not based on like a true story of a wrestler, but it's hard to not like wrestling and go, God, there's shades of Scott Hall in this. There's shades of Jake the Snake Roberts in this. And you can go down the line of wrestlers like New Jack, who just passed away, doing these extreme matches in front of 50 people for a paycheck. That's all they know, and that's where they're respected. And outside of it, Mickey Rourke, he works in he gives up wrestling, heart conditions, years of steroids, and he goes to work at a deli. And it's just a lot of where he lives in society, because in wrestling he gets he's the man, he's so respected, he's cheered, but outside of there he's very unsure of himself and where he fits, and he doesn't have a family life, and his only friend is Marissa Tomei, who is gorgeous in this film, who's a stripper, who he's like paying to like be his like pseudo listening board girlfriend, but she's not, but he's jealous when other guys are around her. It's just an incredibly told film on not only just the wrestling, but the actual character, Randy the Ram, that he plays, and how he's trying to make peace with his life decisions, reconnect with his daughter, played by Evan Rachel Wood, and like accept where he is and what he needs to do to be the kind of person. And ultimately, Aronofsky gives a very good draw your own conclusion ending. What you can kind of decide what you want for the character. And that was like a big divisive thing at the time. But rewatching it, it's pretty definitive, I thought. But watching it and seeing, it's a film, it's nice. Again, going back to 2008, it's the sequels, the trilogies came in 2007, and then this was the launching pad, certainly of the MCU. And it's just nice to go back and get a movie by a director that tells a story beginning to end. This is life. This is a slice of life, and it's not setting up anything else, and you don't have to watch it. And I like Speed Racer because you have to really, really pay attention to the visuals. And this, whereas with The Wrestler, you're just getting a very gritty story of characters, and you're in at the beginning, you're along for the ride, and you're out at the end. And doesn't have any ulterior motive other than to show you this scene. And be it if you like pro wrestling or rock music or anything else, it's hard to not empathize with this story. So my number 2 is, like I said, for Rourke's performance and the story it tells, Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler.
Yeah, I think that you're right that I mean, you could, and I've said this for years about it. You guys know I hate wrestling, don't care about wrestling at all. But you can watch this movie and you could literally substitute, I think, any like physical sport. Like you could make this a movie about a aging NFL player or an aging, basically anything where the body's taking a beating, even like a basketball player, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's mainly about the character himself and him coming to terms with the fact that, he's getting old and his body is breaking down and he can't do the sort of things he's doing. And then, on like you said, the stuff with his daughter is the main driving force behind it, and him kind of reconciling his own life and his own where he's come in life. And it's like it's that in itself is way more, the wrestling people love it for the behind the scenes look,
there's
the
a lot
wrestling
and
stuff,
great
and it is great, and it's and it's great. But then the regular folk can watch it, and there's so much there of as far as character and story go that you can see yourself in this guy that you as you get older you realize you start to come to terms with your own mortality and your own your own physical breakdown of your body, and it happens to literally everybody. And these guys, their bodies start breaking down in their like 40s and 50s.
Well, there's scenes where he's buying like $2,000 worth of
steroids because he just to function. They're taking uppers and downers and all that stuff just to literally function. Whereas like that we wouldn't have to deal with any of that kind of stuff. So it's a great film.
What's interesting about rewatching it too, I think it was Christmas 2005, you see a movie and it's got a nice coat of paint, and I love the Rocky franchise, but this is almost like a mirror universe Rocky Balboa. And Rocky Balboa movie that came out is, again, very PG rated, and it's Stallone and it's this, and it's Stallone's coming to grips with it, and he wants one more fight with the youth, and he's reconnecting with his son, and we love the Rocky franchise. But it's hard to not watch The Wrestler and just be like, this is like a heroin addicted cousin of like Rocky Balboa. If like Rocky never made it and he just like got his shot, or like if he like lost his first defense and just moved back to Philly and was like boxing in gyms and stuff and like wanted to be a hard R liver, I'm like, this is like the Rocky Balboa story, but like real, like the real life story. So again, you're right. If it's any sport, it's boxing, it's that, and wrestling's a mix of that with like rock music blended together, and you just get the performance. And when you dial up, you spend 30 years of your life dialed up to 11. When that's taken away, what do you do? How do you go back to 6? You can't. So this movie does it, and they don't. I'll have an honorable mention that I watch and be like, oh, this is so fucking like cheesy. The Wrestler has zero cheese in this movie. This movie is like a documentary.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's you're invested in the story and invested in the character by the end, for sure, even if you don't care. So yeah, that's a great choice.
Thanks.
Okay, my number 2 is my most obvious one. Anybody really who knows me should know this. The surprising part is that my number 2.
I know, I'm surprised.
And it is again from 1998, directed by the Coen brothers. It is The Big Lebowski. And this is the story of the dude, and the dude abides. This movie is, I'm not going to sit here and do quote. I could literally do quote after quote after quote of this. I won't. I'll save all that. You don't need to. This is a movie that I almost say requires multiple viewings in order for you to really
get
behind
multiple
it.
Viewings, yes.
And like it is a movie that like I just watched it this week, and there's still more stuff that I find that I like, oh man, that line or this line, it like pops out to me that it was there, but it just didn't really pick up on it or think it just continues to get funnier with age, and like the characters are just so great. It's got an insane cast. When you look at the cast now, it's like, holy cow. Like, I mean, you got the main cast there, and on top of that, you got Philip Seymour Hoffman. You have Peter Stormare, who's one of the nihilists, along with Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. We believe in nothing. I said I wasn't going to quote, and I just started doing it. We believe in nothing. so good. I'm not going to go into the plot wise. You can go for it, because the plot really doesn't matter. The Coens based this off of the Philip Marlowe detective stories. And so there's The Big Sleep and there's The Long Goodbye, two movies that, had the Philip Marlowe character, and they're, detective stories. The dude in here, the little Lebowski in here is not a detective. He is just an unemployed bum, but it is it's a mystery story, and he almost becomes a detective. And so it's kind of got that noir detective, even with the like the music and the feel to it, kind of has that detective like mystery feel to it. And so when I watched actually this week, I watched The Big Sleep and I watched The Long Goodbye. I'd seen them both before, but never, in the same week as the Lebowski. And you can see the parallels between the character and even the story, how the story doesn't really matter. And if you start like nitpicking of like the plot points in the story, you've missed the point. The point is not about the story. The point is about the journey and the characters. And this contains one of the greatest characters ever put on film. John Goodman at his most best as Walter Sobchak. Every time he's on screen, he is insanely funny. He's also responsible for modeling one of my best cosplays ever. This is when we went to one of the cons in Niagara, and I people were quoting lines to me all over the floor, and it was a good time. And I love Walter. John Goodman just puts in the absolute star role in this movie as Walter. And Walter, it's funny when you start reading up on The Big Lebowski, all of these characters are based on real people, and you can read up on who they're actually based on. They're based on real life people, and Walter's one of those characters that you can picture being a real person. That's like an insane person, obviously, but like he seems like a person that could exist and be a crazy person that hangs out in bowling alleys and shop and like shopping malls and pulls guns on people for stepping over
Vietnam
lines.
vet, baby.
But then you find out he's not. He lied about that. He always brings it up, and he lied. He lied about it.
He talks about it so much.
He calls about it, and he calls him on it. He's like, he never even went. So there's this movie, like I said, if you've seen it before and you've only seen it once, you have not given it its proper due. I dare you, I require you to at least watch it 2 or 3 times just to really dive deep into it and dive deep into the characters, because that's when it really starts popping for people. Like, I don't even remember the first time I watched it, but I do remember the first time I watched it not getting it, because there's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
It starts right away too. It honestly feels like it's missing 30 minutes.
Well, it has this thing where you start. There's scenes that you think are on different places. You think, oh, that's happening now. Like you said, it starts off right away where the guys break in. The very first scene is the guys breaking into the dude's house and pissing on his rug. That's the first scene, right? And like it's you're just like, whoa, this is going off right off the bat. And it's definitely one of my all-time favorite comedies. It's a movie that I can endlessly watch, and like I said, it continues to provide entertainment and not just the the standard stuff. There's so much in there that and it's so funny because the Coen brothers kind of write this off as not one of their best, and I guess it's not as serious as some of their other things, but like it's one of the best comedies ever.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that, because they just won an Oscar for writing Fargo.
And this is what they cashed in on.
Right, exactly. When that happens, producers come from everywhere and say, what do you want to do next? And that's when you usually get the passion project from somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, I've got a check, let's make this. So to hear
and just considering who all the people that are involved, like everybody who signed on to do it, and like obviously it's funny, like you think about Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges before this was like a serious actor. Yeah. Who took himself very seriously, and then
like, if I'm not mistaken, like right off of Arlington Road, like a year before this, like
he was a very serious guy, and then like literally, he took on the dude as his like persona. Everything after that is like see the dude in everything, almost in everything.
I'm very certain that's what he's like. And he's like, oh, I finally get to relax on set.
Well, and to your point, a lot of the clothes that he wears in that, including the jelly sandals, are actually his clothes. Okay. Those are actually his jelly sandals, and like a lot of his like clothes that he wore for real. And so
you can go back to certain Jeff Bridges performances, and you can hear "man" is part of his common vernacular.
Sure, it's true. Yeah, it's
one other movie that it's clearly inspired by was North by Northwest, where the movie starts off with mistaken identity.
Oh, it is.
And just goes off into.
I guess I didn't really realize that. Being like the George Kaplan,
like a lot of. Well, there's a bunch of Hitchcock that are like that, right? And the Man Who Knew Too Much and that kind of stuff. Where, the idea of and like. Okay, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna start getting into like scenes, so I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, it's just everything about it. Everything about it is endlessly funny and just ages like wine. It's ages like a White Russian, which I guess wouldn't really age well because it's cream and milk. But
I just want to keep talking about it because I came up with one other point. We were talking about. A few episodes ago, we talked about soundtracks better than the movies. Now, this doesn't quite fit that, but
the soundtrack is so good.
But the Coen brothers' choice of music in all of their movies is very, curated to the specific. There's the song you played there is part of a dream sequence.
Yep.
Which, if any other song was used, I'd probably walk out of the room because when I watch that scene, it's almost the part where you can go to the bathroom.
Sure.
But crank it up, and then you can have that song playing.
Yeah,
anywhere in the house, and you're really into it.
Yeah, it's funny. And it's funny. I think I think somebody had said maybe I forget where I heard it, but they're like, no film has ever done more damage to the reputation of the Eagles than this film. And it's so funny. One of my buddies, it says he hates the Eagles. And I'm like, you only hate, like, I literally called him on it. I'm like, you only hate the Eagles because of Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
And
he's like, it's cool.
It's true. And I'm like, and it was true. It's true. I'm like, you only hate the Eagles because of the thing. I like the Eagles. I'm with that cab driver. That guy can get out of my car when I'm playing the Eagles because the Eagles rule. Get out of here, Lebowski.
With that, we'll go to my number two. My number two is in 2006. Okay, so in 2008 and even 2010 was when I was far more closely introduced to Christopher Nolan. He had done Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and by 2010 had done Inception. So I went back into his filmography and I was like, okay, what else is there? Oh, okay. So I think the first movie after those three would have been this one. It was this, I don't know if it's the first or second Blu-ray I ever bought. I went to Best Buy, bought a Blu-ray player, went over to like the 2 for $30 rack, and I got Highlander and this. Oops, I meant to put that up. The Prestige.
There you go. I knew that one. Yes, I'm 2 for 2 on Matt so far.
Did you see this in theaters?
I didn't see it in theaters.
Oh, okay.
First time I saw it was
an unbelievable experience.
Yeah,
yes.
I did.
And similar to The Big Lebowski, you have to see this movie twice.
Yes.
Which is exactly what I did. I had that Blu-ray, popped it in, watched it, and I was like, this is terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Watched it again because I think it had commentary on it, and I like to do that. Watch a movie once and then again with commentary. And then as you watch that, you see all of the clues that are right in front of your face that lead to sci-fi type ending that there is. A lot of people, you talk about this movie too, they say, oh, that's the movie where Wolverine and Batman play rival magicians,
Yeah.
right? It's like, yes, that's true, but
Black Widow
watch
on
it.
both sides.
Now, yes, that's so. Rival magicians is clearly the biggest plot point of the movie, but what I liked about it, and probably we'll talk about this time, is the fact that these guys are so dedicated to being not just one-upping each other, but being better entertainers than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Scott was talking about the wrestlers and the wrestler, and there's a term in wrestling called kayfabe, where you can't break character. And this movie is about that, like 100%. Christian Bale plays the magician. His name is Alfred. The Professor Borden is his, stage name. And he decides at a certain point that it's what you are on stage is you need to get those people to believe that that's who you are. At one time, while they're still buddies, him and Hugh Jackman are seeing a magician in town, and they wait outside to, maybe meet the guy or see what he's like. And he's this, arthritic old man. And Christian Bale says, this is part of the act. He's making us believe that he's old and arthritic, and he couldn't possibly perform the tricks that he's pulling because of his, advanced age, which is a true story. That magician was actually a very young man, and he only broke character once when I think a trick went wrong and he kind of set himself on fire. But that for me is my favorite part of the movie, is that these two guys do their best not to break character, especially Christian Bale. And I don't want to spoil it, but he's a character who will not break character from the person he is and the entertainer he is on stage. Now they keep the main illusion in the movie is called the what is it called? It's not it's not the traveling man.
Oh,
Isn't it?
Is it the traveling?
That's where he catches the ball.
Right. But they, he does that.
Transported man?
The transported man.
There you go.
Christian Bale has a rubber ball, bounces it towards another door, locks himself in the closet, and then appears on the other side. Hugh Jackman sees this and says, this was the greatest magic trick I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's the Fly. It's a Fly prequel.
Yes, essentially. So he decides he has to figure out how he does it and then do it better.
Yeah.
And he does. He finds a double, someone who looks like him, and they do the same trick. He goes into the door, or he disappears. He drops down the stage, and then his double shows up and pretends to be Hugh Jackman. And Christian Bale sees this. Well, I'm going to do the same trick better than him. Hugh Jackman sees it, and they steal the same trick back and forth, trying to one up each other to the point of, not madness, but Hugh Jackman goes to find Nikola Tesla, played by David Bowie.
I was just going to say, you said that your number one part. That is my number one part.
Yeah.
David Bowie was born to play Nikola Tesla. And thank you, Christopher Nolan.
Great introduction, walking through the electricity. Phenomenal.
Yes.
Yes. The best.
And
that scene is amazing.
Yeah.
He helps him by building a machine that essentially what looks like just gives off sparks. It's really just production value for his trick, which is what we're all led to believe. And I'm not going to ruin the ending, but I really of this and Inception really are like this for favorite Christopher Nolan movie. They could switch places between number one any day of the week.
Yeah, it is a great one for sure.
Yeah,
it's funny because the whole thing that always comes up with it is the Illusionist came out in the same year.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, Prestige is way better than Illusionist." I like the Illusionist too. I like both films.
I like it, Jordan. I do.
Both films. Prestige is better than the Illusionist, but the Illusionist is fun too. But yeah, when you got the people behind, all the people that are behind the Prestige, including Christopher Nolan at the helm, it's kind of hard to top that, even with Giamatti and
Ed Norton.
Ed Norton's, both amazing. But I mean, you've got, the highest highs of Chris Nolan and Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale and Michael Caine in there. Like that's tough to beat.
Yeah. So I would just want to add I was blown away. I was in on Memento. Batman Begins is my favorite of the trilogy. And he followed it up with this, Into the Dark Knight in my year, into Inception. And I'm just like, this dude cannot miss. This dude. Yeah. And he's taking different chances on different things. But at this point, I was just like, this is what an original story, what an unbelievable story. And it's broken down in 3 specific acts, much like a magic trick. That's the whole thing. There's the look, the turn, the prestige, the final thing. And the movie's very much broken down like that. And as you watch it multiple times, it's unbelievable. What a great story of revenge, vengeance, and like competitive rivals. Unbelievable.
And dedication, like you said, to like Matt, you said dedication to the role, and you see what they sacrifice, what they both sacrifice in order to
that's exactly
maintain that.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me get some
honorable mentions. Yes.
Honorable mentions. Let's do it.
Okay, so this changed 100 times, and I just feel like I need to paraphrase from the beginning and be like, let's just get nuts. So this was movies when we turned 21. It is 2021.
Yes.
So let's go with 21.
I knew it. I called that one.
When you said Vantage Point was my Scott pick. I'm like, well, 21's sitting right there, guys. You got the king back, and it's no longer hashtag free spaces because he is a free man. So we're changing it to Spacey Free. This movie, if I ever have to hear the 4-letter winner line again, I'm gonna blow my brains out. I never want to hear that ever again. And they make gambling look ridiculous in this movie, and it's so cheesy and cliched, and just the dialogue. But you put count cards and Vegas, and Kate Bosworth is dialed up to 10 in this movie, and it's Spacey's like the villain, and Fishburne's the pit boss. I'm just like, you know what? I saw this movie when I was 20. I started gambling at 20. I went to Vegas the next year. 21 kind of rules. So I'm like, it won't show up on any other list. So hashtag Spacey Freed 21. And my number 4, been on so many
I did not call this one.
This was going to be on Revenge. It got cut. This was going to be on Hitman. It got cut. It wasn't on my list until 20 minutes ago. It was something else. I'm going to save that movie for a list down in the future. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give Wanted its credit and its due. A fun graphic novel turned into an action film. Angelina Jolie is stunning in this film as a badass, right when she's like coming off the Lara Croft stuff, but before she gets into like the generic stuff, the salt stuff and things like that. I don't know how many people really talk about this movie. This movie we should be on our 4th Wanted right now, and we're not. But at the time, I'm going to cheat a little bit. We're going to keep it rolling because I also do just want to spotlight half of Wall-E. Half of Wall-E gets an honorable mention. Not the second half when they go to space, but I want to say that the first half of this movie is an absolute testament to filmmaking and Pixar's greatest achievement. And they double down and they ruin it by putting Wall-E in space, and it's unwatchable. So I'm going to, honestly, I just want to honor half of this film. And if I can honor one scene, I want to honor this entrance from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which the movie itself is abysmal. But this entrance, I watch this entrance often. So those are my 21.
I don't know what that is.
Half of
that looks like something,
and
but I don't know.
Introduction of Indiana Jones in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I'll go even further. It's not just the introduction up to the rocket sled. Then you can turn.
So like all the Blanchett stuff and all the idol. Sure, it's fine.
I don't know.
But
I don't know what you guys are talking
I watch this commonly. So I was like, well, I want to shout that out because that silhouette with the music and all the guys' guns, I'm like, this is cool.
Was used in every trailer, and we're all so excited to see it.
There's still 2 hours and 20 minutes after this, and it's not great, and it gets worse as it goes. But could be remiss if I didn't shout those out.
Damn you for putting that on here. Damn you. All right. My honorable mentions. Last episode, we did the revenge films. My number 1 film was The Crow, directed by Alex Proyas. Alex Proyas, pretty much the year after that, decided he was going to direct Dark City, starring Rufus Sewell, Kiefer Sutherland, and Jennifer Connelly, who is always insanely great. This movie just blew me away. The visuals in this pretty much predate Inception and movies that do a lot of the similar things, and the visuals in here are insane. For 1998, are top notch. They still look insanely great now. Just an unbelievably, again, we go to the noir thing. This is a noir film, and I would highly recommend. I just watched a couple weeks ago. I just watched the director's cut of this. The theatrical cut has a voiceover by Kiefer Sutherland that basically explains the whole mystery away from what's happening in the movie, and that was found out that was a studio thing, that they were like, people are going to be too dumb to know what's going on in this movie, so we need to explain everything before we go in so they're not confused. Screw that. You basically, when you watch the director's cut, it starts off as a noir, and like you don't know what's going on, and you're kind of dumped into it, and it kind of gets revealed slowly throughout the movie, and it's way better. I liked it a lot when I first saw it. I saw it in theater. But the director's cut is like infinitely better. So if you get a chance, check out the director's cut. My other is Out of Sight, with two superstars with the most chemistry you could ever have on a screen. J-Lo and George Clooney, written by Elmore Leonard. This is one where I had read the book beforehand, because I got like a deep dived. After Get Shorty, I deep dived Elmore Leonard and bought up as many Elmore Leonard books as I possibly could. And so literally the book, I think, came out a year before this. I bought it new, read it, was ready for the movie, and the movie did not disappoint. This was like Steven Soderbergh's return to triumphance. 2.0. And he directed the hell out of that movie, and half the movie is in Detroit, actual Detroit, and the big one of their big scenes is in the top of the Rensen and it is actually in the Rensen. So,
great
love Out of Sight.
98 so rules. Matt, what do you got?
My honorable mentions include Inside Man.
Yes, man, I'm killing. I'm calling all of Matt's. I wish I had my list with you, and I'm calling all of Matt's.
You like the European poster there.
I'm 4 for 4.
Oh yeah, well I thought it was cooler than like the DVD cover that they have, and the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah,
Da Vinci Code is a man. I remember seeing both of those exact days.
I've never seen the Da Vinci Code, but Da Vinci Code was.
Love Da Vinci Code.
I know you do. I was like, Da Vinci Code is like the epitome of a Matt movie. I mean, you got your guy Tom Hanks, and then
doing in Indiana Jones of like action, but dialed up like the school teacher stuff.
Yeah,
man. I feel like I didn't use that on novels turned into movies, but that was a hype. I was in on the book. I was like in book clubs and like in on the movie.
I've never read the book, never seen the movie. So, yeah.
That brings us to our number ones.
Okay. I don't know. I said this. I look back and I was like, okay, I wanna look through. Now, this is definitely shortcut. My number one. As soon as I saw the list, it's one of my favorite films. It's one that I go back to and I think about often and commonly. So on my birthday, I turned 21. I went to the movies with my friends and I saw Tom Cruise in Valkyrie. And that movie's not it. This is not I didn't enjoy that movie. But because the day before I had seen this film and kept thinking about this film, and I think I went back once more in January to see it again a second time, close to 3 hours. But, it certainly was a movie that got quite the bit of Oscar buzz. It was nominated for 13 Academy Awards, winning 3. The big ones being the visual effects, which were quite outstanding at the time. And we're going to deep dive into why this movie is not only my number one, but also one of my favorites of all time. And it's The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Directed by David Fincher. And it's a very important movie at a very important time for both David Fincher, who's one of my favorite directors, and Brad Pitt. And it really, it's David Fincher's first foray into a movie that's not rated R. and doesn't predominantly have a theme of murder or serial killer or anything like that. So he's more playing within the confines of, a studio. It's his third partnering with Brad Pitt, so he's more reined in. And what's nice about that is this is, Fincher's first foray into a really big award season film. He had done The Game, Panic Room, Fight Club, coming off of Zodiac, which wasn't received at the high level for awards as this film, and it's kind of his tryout on the circuit before Social Network 3 years later, and now ultimately he's renowned as an award nominated winning director. So it's that movie right at the right time. It's Pitt coming off the second phase of his film career, and he's more transitioning into older, more sage leading man Brad Pitt. And it's around this time Plan B Studios takes off. He's becoming a producer, and he's following up his choices a lot smarter. He's doing Inglourious Bastards the year after this, and then he's launched into Moneyball, 12 Years a Slave, The Big Short, and he's kind of becoming that character actor. Ultimately, he just capped off with the Academy Award last year for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So it's a movie that's really important for both of them. But what I'll talk about with Benjamin Button and why it's my favorite movie of the year, it's a movie that's going to deal with like a lot of themes when you look through it. It's dealing with loss. It's dealing with the perspective of, life. And one thing that I always wrap my head around is the idea of time and the passage of time and what it means to blink and be old, or in Benjamin Button's case, blink and be young. And it's just a fascinating concept that's done up in a way where he's born as an old man and he's aging backwards, and it's just never really mentioned. It coincides with a clock, and that coincides with Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans at the time. But you're getting a really stacked, deep roster of people. It's one of the first times I've seen Mahershala Ali. He goes to become 2 Academy Awards in the next decade. Taraji P. Henson is nominated, and both the lead actor and actress is Cate Blanchett in this. It's written by Eric Roth, who wrote, he's still working now. He just wrote Dune. He just wrote A Star Is Born. It's accused of being a Forrest Gump light, because Eric Roth also wrote Forrest Gump. It is a Forrest Gump light. It's an incredible, protagonist with an odd deformity who is going through life and, touching people along the way. And as he's chasing the love of his life, who's always out of reach until they meet in the middle. And he looks like Brad Pitt, in his 50s to 30s as he does, and they meet in the middle on that, and it's their love story. But just for everything else, it's a movie I come back to. It's a movie I'll put on and watch. I do think it's got some incredible performances in it. I think because it's Fincher, it's lit. It looks amazing. It's got a really nice 1920s into post-war Southern feel to it. The music's great. And for my money, one of my favorite scenes of the year out of any film was the butterfly effect scene that's showing how every little thing, pushed the next step down, leading to how Cate Blanchett's character gets hit by a car. And if anything was done out of 15 different things, that wouldn't have happened. And it's just things to think about. If you do this, how does this domino fall to this, putting you on a course. So, for what Benjamin Button does, his outlook on life, is he, are we have free will versus fate versus, does the universe have bigger aspirations for us? Is it luck? Is it everything on that? My best and favorite film of the year was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Now, that is a movie I saw once, and I was not a fan. Now, it's not like it shouldn't be on your list because you were limited to 1 year here. But all of the things you mentioned about the other most of the other Fincher movies, the serial killers, the murders, and the mysteries, that's the stuff I like from him. And Benjamin Button doesn't have that, so that's not why it's on my shelf.
I don't know. Yeah, it's great. We love the Zodiacs. We love the other stuff. We love the game. Stuff's been on all my lists, but going back to this and just seeing the year, like I said, 2008 is a tough year. It's Slumdog Millionaire was the Best Picture winner. I watched it again, didn't quite get there. Milk, I watched, it was okay. But like I said, when I did the list and looked through, I remember really enjoying it. And it's one, like I said, I go back to, and I think it was really done very well. And I like the out of this world sci-fi element of his de-aging and how poetic it is with the clock and the flood, and as the flood goes to engulf the clock at the end, that signifies Daisy's life running out, because she would be close to 100 at the time. And it's just good stuff. It's just great.
Did that movie win for special effects?
Yeah, visual effects.
Yeah,
I watched that too. Yeah, and that was groundbreaking at the time.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's
praising that.
Yeah, on the body that Marvel would do. I mean, in 2011, they would do it with Captain America, put his face on another body, but they're doing it out here in 2008, and it was groundbreaking. It looked great.
There's a ton of the behind the scenes stuff on the Criterion. There's the Criterion Blue, and they go in depth on all that stuff, which is really great, really cool. Awesome. All right, my number one is a movie that I saw in theater, and it was life-changing. It was one of those movies that you watch and you're just like, you come out of the theater a different person. And this is a movie from a director that I was familiar with based on going through the AFI lists previous to this, so it was he was a person that I knew of, but I didn't really recognize his name until I went to see it. It is starring a person who had basically up to this point ruled the comedy world. In the years leading up to this, there was nobody bigger in comedy, and this was his first real serious role, and that is Jim Carrey.
This will be my number one too. This is my top 10. Preach.
This is directed by Peter Weir, who is one of my favorite directors. If you go through Peter Weir's filmography, it is just incredible. I had the Criterion channel last year, and I filled in all the blanks of his films. Pretty much all of his films were available on Criterion channel, and I just filled in the blanks, and they're all pretty much incredible films. This film kind of reintroduced Jim Carrey to the world. Jim Carrey up to this point was a mega star like I said, in the comedy world, earning $20 million a picture doing The Mask and Dumb and Dumber and Liar Liar and all this stuff. This actually had to be bumped a full year so that he could film Liar Liar and what's the other one that came out that year? There's another comedy. Cable Guy. Cable Guy
was 96.
Yeah. So because he had to do Cable Guy and Liar Liar. This got bumped to 98, and so he comes in with that star power, and he actually takes a pay cut to work with Peter Weir and to do this film, and he has to really convince Peter Weir that he can pull this off. And to me, I like Jim Carrey's comedy. I've loved him since his Days on in Living Color. That was how I was introduced to him. But for me, for my money, and like some of my top movies of all time have him in serious roles. There's this, and obviously Eternal Sunshine are two of my all-time favorite movies. And he's got some comedy in here. He does some quirky, funny bits, and some of that is ad-libbed. Peter Weir is not somebody who likes ad-libbing, so I know that they fought a lot on set to get that in. Peter Weir is somebody who likes to have everything by the script, and so there was a lot of conflict.
What did the set of Dead Poet Society look like then?
Exactly. And so he's working with these very comedic improv actors, but you can see how his impact on both him, on Jim Carrey, and Robin Williams, because Robin Williams, after Dead Poet Society, becomes a totally different actor and a totally different performer, and Jim Carrey after Truman Show was never the same after that too. He starts, he does Man on the Moon, he does Eternal Sunshine. He becomes a fully well-rounded actor, and it's not just this one trick like Rubber Man comedy act. You know, he's an actual actor now. He is an actor he is respected, even though the Oscars, the Academy Awards, did not respect him enough to nominate. Do you haven't even nominate him? And Ed Harris was nominated, but somehow Jim Carrey was not. Peter Weir was nominated. So somehow this movie not even nominated for Best Picture, which is like I remember at the time being. I mean, this is like prime, like building time of my anger towards Oscars, and why I will forever hate the Oscars is all through the 90s of just like constant snubs to all the best pictures of the year throughout the 90s.
Only 5 nominations back then.
It doesn't matter when you have Shakespeare in Love winning the Oscar and this isn't even nominated. Come on.
Right,
yeah, garbage. And then obviously you have Ed Harris as Christoph, who's playing the godlike character. If like I said, if you're watching this and you haven't seen Truman Show, I don't want to dive too much into it because it is a movie that really unfolds really well throughout it, and it kind of paved the way for basically our society now and how our society works, where everything has to be live documented. You go on Facebook and you can see everyone live documenting even stuff like this, where we're podcasting and talking about stuff online and broadcasting our lives. Truman Show, you know, you had your reality TV.
You only had the real world before this, because you had Survivor and Big Brother, like
exactly Survivor
years after that.
Yeah, this paved the way for all of it. This has paved the way for the huge boom in reality TV. It also paved the way for what's called, which now is referred to in the medical world as the Truman Syndrome, where people actually believe that they're part of their own TV show, and and there's this whole paranoia thing, and I'll let you guys read up on that after. But there's this whole thing.
No need, I'm living it.
Yeah, there's people that think that this is happening to them, that the Truman Show is happening to them, and so that all spawned basically because of this movie, and it's like I said, it is a movie that deals with. There's so much. I mean, you can take it for face value and entertainment value, and you can start diving deep into it and diving into the allegory of God and man. God having control over us, and Jim Carrey being the representing mankind, but then like there's so much stuff that you can dive deep into there of, free will versus choice, and how much choice does he have. There's the outside people, trying to, contact him and reveal what's actually going on to him. And it's a movie that, again, on repeat watches, you pick up so much details. Like when I rewatched it this time, this week, I started noticing all the cameras. There's all the camera. If you watch in the background, you can start pausing certain scenes, and you can see the cameras on like fence, the black glass. Yeah. On fence posts, on different things, you can start seeing them. And I'd never really picked up on that, because I never really was, paying a lot of attention to it, but you start picking up on those small little details. And this is like I said, this is a movie that continues to get better with age. When you watch it now, it has so much more relevance and so much more meaning to it now, that in the age that we're living in, that it continues to be rewarding, even so many years after the fact. It's just a film, like I said, that blew me away upon first viewing, and it continues even after all this time. It's easily my number one from 1998.
Yeah, I've summed it up. I have nothing really to add. You're absolutely right. I remember watching this. Jim Carrey was my favorite when I was 10. I would have been 10 around this year. We talked about this in another one. Obsessed. Truman Show comes out. I remember watching it and loving it and getting it, not getting it to like it's one that's so rich. But then when you watch it and you see the stuff with his dad and the boat, and you're just like, this is unbelievable, powerful stuff. And the character arc of Truman Burbank being not only starting the movie being probably one of the most likable human beings in film history, but where he ends up at the end of the film, just like mentally as well too. It's an unbelievable singular film growth.
Well, what I started thinking about this week too, that I'd never really thought about was, and I kind of maybe passing kind of thought about it. Where does he go from here? What is his life like outside of the Truman Show? Because his life isn't going to get better. He is now one of the most famous people on the planet.
Yeah.
Everywhere he's going to go is the Truman Show times 1,000, because now he's in the spotlight. Everyone, he's not going to be able to go anywhere.
And that's what's great. It's like, it goes back to my wrestling thing. It's just a slice of life. You get it. And once he goes, that's an unbelievable shot. One of my favorite shots in film is
that ends that thing where the bow is like
unbelievable.
I get goosebumps every time.
And you're just every time. Who knows what's out there? But we as the audience can decide, because we've been the audience. Oh, and then at the end, once it's like over, movie's over, and now you don't know. And now,
no, it's not, because there's the two guys that are sitting there and they're like, oh yeah, what else is on? What else is on? And they flip the channel, because that is a killer. That is, to me, that it speaks to it too. That there's it's just entertainment for these people. They don't care. They don't they're invested in this show and they're invested in Truman, but at the end of the day, it's just entertainment for them, and they're just flipping on to the next thing that
So
the next thing.
So 2 points. First point is, where does he go from there? I'm going to tell you. He went to Fiji. One, because that's where he wanted to go.
Yes.
I mean, it was to meet that girl, of course. But of course, they'll meet up and be like, "Let's go to Fiji," because how many people in Fiji know who I am?
That's right.
After all that, and like when you brought it up, the two guys who said what else is on, a lot of people like, sure, cameras will be all over Truman forever, maybe. But once they realize, people will watch that at first and be like, you know what? I liked it better when he was on TV and didn't know what he was doing. So ratings for that will go down, and I'm sure he'll get left alone.
One of those guys, funnily enough, is Hitchcock from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah. When I saw him, when that came out, I didn't know who he was. But then on this watch, I was like, whoa, Hitchcock, 999. Anyway, yeah, that's fun.
Okay. My number one is obvious, of course, to Scott, of course, to AB.
I was all in on
anybody who is watching and saw, 2006, let's Wikipedia. Was there a James Bond movie that came out in 2006? Yeah. Of course there was.
Way too.
And it was, I keep doing this the wrong way. It was Casino Royale. Now, Casino Royale is on my list, not because it's a James Bond movie, not because it's a James Bond movie about poker, which I enjoy. It's not that we got a new James Bond. Pierce Brosnan had finished, and a few years later, we got the new fresh face of Daniel Craig. I saw the movie. It opens with terrific action, a stone-faced James Bond, cool as a cucumber, action-packed. He says in the at some point in the movie, he tells M, "You want me to become half monk, half hitman?" He's a much, shoot first, ask questions later James Bond. It has nothing to do with any of that. It is on this list specifically, and I'm so glad we are recording today and airing on the day we are going to be, because at one point in this movie, James Bond is in the Bahamas and he's doing some investigating. He goes into a country ocean club type area because he's got a bomb maker's cell phone and he's following the source of the call. He ends up in a security room where he sees the call was made to somebody who frequents this ocean club. He goes into the security room. He pulls out a security DVD Blu-ray. I was going to say security tape, but there's no tapes. He walks over to a Blu-ray player, places the disc on the tray, and the disc is dated July 6th.
That's illegal.
Today. That's cool. My birthday, July 6th. And
that's funny.
Like so many people, there's the meme now of Leo pointing to the screen from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I'm sure many of us have done before then. And this was no exception. I saw that on screen. It's like, And I turned to whoever is next to me. That's my birthday.
That's
My birthday is in a
unbelievable.
James Bond movie.
That's so funny.
But of course, the movie itself is fantastic. Like I said, we got a brand new James Bond at the time in Daniel Craig. Hopefully, we'll get what may be his final film this year, later this year in 2021.
If Amazon Prime wants to deliver it in one
That's
day,
right.
notice.
Amazon has bought
If
MGM.
they're delivering it to our doorstep, who knows?
Yeah.
Or is that? So yes, it's action packed. Cole James Bond. The producers were excited to make Casino Royale because they didn't have the rights to the original novel material. There was that TV episode in the 50s. There was and since Sony owned the rights, they were able to make a comedy parody film with Woody Allen in it, and nobody liked that movie.
No.
MGM and Sony came to an agreement. I think Sony is actually distributor of the newer Daniel Craig movies, so they were able to get the rights back to the story. It was the first book, and they hit a home run with it. They changed Baccarat, which is James Bond, regular casino game of choice, to Texas Hold'em Poker because that was the huge trendy game that everyone was playing at the time.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's pretty close to the source material. Of course, James Bond is on my list, and for the reason of my birthday showing up in the movie, that's what makes it my number one.
That's great. And you got to bring up too Mads. Mads as Le Chiffre. The Chiffre is, a all-time Bond villain. He's great. He's got, the blood tear is got that unique thing, but just Mads himself is I like, the more I see him, and he just keeps coming up. He's done a lot lately, and literally I've seen him in like 6 different roles in the last year.
Obviously,
all different, and all different. I think the guy's incredible.
An actor from Denmark, so he was already known in Europe. This one introduced him to the world and got him all of the big parts we see him. I forget what I would have seen him right after this, Mads Mikkelsen, but as soon as he was cast as Hannibal for the TV show, I was like, yes, I am in.
So good. I think this is probably the first time I'd saw it to him, but right after this, I would have saw him in Valhalla Rising, which is one of the first American ones he does with Nicholas Refn. Refn, and he plays like a Viking, like a mute Viking, and it is insanely good. But like, he doesn't speak a word in it, but he's so great. He's so great.
I wanted to talk about my year as a Bond fan with this. So I remember the announcement. I had seen the 4 Brosnans in theaters, and like I said, internet, big deal. I remember the announcement. I still remember Craig being announced. He had the long hair, and he was on the boat when they drove him in. I remember the message boards going nuts. The trailer is still to this day one of my favorite trailers of all time. When he's walking off the plane and it's black and white, and that as it goes. I saw this movie, I think, 4 times in theaters. And it's one of the few times my parents went to the theater without me. I remember it was my dad's birthday in December, and this movie came out American Thanksgiving. And I met them after work, and they're like, "Oh, we went to see Casino Royale." I'm like, I would have gone with you. I don't see I remember how obsessed I was with it. I was all in on Bond fever this time. I remember going to the gym, the African Rundown, the score. I would listen to that and just run on the treadmill and be like, I feel like Bond when he's chasing. And Chris Cornell's theme is my second favorite. Yes. It was right up to Adele's for the longest time. It's still probably my second or third favorite song of all time. It's so underrated. It's an unbelievable film. Everything about it. Introducing Jeffrey Wright, introducing Eva Green, Mads. It's just a heat check of everybody as well, too. So the action's great. The pace is great. Third act's a little bloated, but even then, like, watching 2.5 hours, 2:45 of Bond is better than watching 2 hours of anything else. So, like, I'll take it, just like you. So, what a great choice. I'm so happy. I'm so happy you had that year, because I had Quantum of Solace. I could not put it on it. I could not revisit Quantum of Solace. That movie aggravates me to no living end on a multitude of reasons to talk about off screen. But I am so glad that we are talking about Craig's, if not best, second best outing.
Last 2 points before we move on to our draft. The first movie I saw Mads Mikkelsen in was 2004's King Arthur with Clive Owen. He plays one of the Knights of the Round Table.
Okay.
Interesting.
And I wanted to do an extra honorable mention for Rocky Balboa, released in 2006, because
Was that okay? Thanks. Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone is also birthday July 6th.
Cool.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
that's awesome.
hold on. If you guys get on one extra honorable mention, Scott brought it up. I'm gonna honorable mention Blade.
Yeah,
there you go.
Blade.
There you go. Okay.
What's the snake? And Stephen Dorff. Go.
Okay, let's bring in our Chris Christopherson.
The Mack Flash draft. The card is up. We bring in our draft meister himself. Jersey Jim is with us. AB
Someone's
is going
to fourth.
No, we'll see.
Jim, what year did you turn 21 at?
I turned 21 in 2010.
2010.
Oh,
so Inception.
Can I have Social Network?
Yeah.
What a great year.
Yeah,
All right.
so it was Inception, Toy Story 3, The Fighter, Mickey Rourke.
What an unbelievable year.
Okay.
So we got our 3 categories. James Bond, which is a totally, I hope it's that.
If we
it's
land on
totally
that,
a
there's
category.
explanations for
Baseball and
Yep.
SCTV alum. Take us home, maybe.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Bond is so outside the box and different.
No, we're going
Okay, that's cool.
SCTV, movie starring alumni from the SCTV. Yeah, applause, sure.
Okay, so now we're gonna go for picks. We'll go.
While AB's typing those in, the last draft we had was for 90s comedies, and it looks like Scott won that one by 2 votes.
I feel good about that.
I was so close that I tried to share it on my own page, and people were liking or whatever the post itself rather than the picture. I was like, okay, this isn't working.
I know. I liked it on that because I was like, what are you doing trying to get these extra votes?
All right, here we go. You ready? Guys ready?
Yeah.
With the first pick. This guy.
Oh, there
right
you
here.
go.
Might be your first pick.
Okay. Next pick.
Now, for everybody watching, we're going to be obviously doing this draft, and then Scott will have a graphic up and ready when this episode airs on the
Jim
Mack
with the
Flash
pick.
Entertainment Facebook page. And that's where you
And this is
can
for third pick.
do your votes.
Scott.
Scott.
Picking
Excellent.
third.
And Matthew's last.
Okay.
Okay, we are in order.
With the first pick of the SCTV draft, I choose Home Alone.
Wow.
I had Home Alone ranked low.
I am
There's some good
shocked,
stuff out there.
to be quite
Low,
honest,
really?
because I thought this pick was going to be the first pick. My first pick is going to be Spaceballs.
Oh
My goodness.
Oh my God!
Scott,
With
just
right
tell
into the
them,
face.
tell them
With the
what it
third
is.
pick, I happily take Ghostbusters.
Of course, Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters is the Peyton Manning of this draft.
Okay.
My God. So
Oh
now
my God! I'm
I
like, there's
get-
no way.
my first and second pick. My pick number 1 is, of course, the SCTV spin-off film Strange Brew.
Okay.
And my number 2 will be Best in Show.
Okay.
With my second pick, I am going to take, utilizing the voice talents of Catherine O'Hara, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
Okay.
With my second pick, I am going to take Cool Runnings.
Oh, very good.
Loading up on candy.
All right. With my first pick on the turn, I'm going to go with the talents of Joe Flaherty in Happy Gilmore. You
I know, that was a really good
You
one.
jackass.
I know, I had that. I wanted to sneak that in. Good for you.
And my number 3 pick, I'm going to take the Blues Brothers.
Mm.
Okay.
Who from SCTVs and Blues Brothers?
John
John Candy.
Yes, correct.
With my third pick, I'm probably going to take the only Andrea Martin film on this. It'll be My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Excellent.
That's a great one.
Okay, give me some more, Eugene. Let's American Pie me, baby.
Yep.
Yeah. For my pick number 3, I'm going to take Stripes.
Damn it.
Okay.
That was going to be my 4.
And for my number 4, I'm going to take Follow That Bird, the Sesame Street movie.
Hmm.
With
Guys,
Dave-
I don't really like it as much as you, but Beetlejuice is right there, so I'm going to take Beetlejuice.
With my number 4 pick, and I believe it's still on the board, I will have to take another Candy movie. It will be Planes, Trains, and
Yeah,
Automobiles.
that's a good one. That's my next highest.
Okay. With my number 4 pick, I'm going to take Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I didn't want it. It's still there. I didn't know if you guys
And-
would, but good pick.
And I'm going to take, for my last pick, I'm going to take Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm debating 5 whether to go with Martin Short or Moranis, and I will have to go with Moranis and pick. Let's say kiddie movie, The Little Giants.
That's great. That's
Right on.
I mean, I don't have As Kid a movie on here, but I could take a kids movie here, but I'm gonna go with my next highest ranked movie, and I don't want to betray, but I'm gonna go with no, fuck it. I'm gonna go with the kids movie. I'm gonna go with Rookie of the Year.
John Candy is the announcer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And my final pick will be the Rick Moranis starring vehicle, Little Shop of Horrors.
I knew it. I knew that,
That
was
was
going to be
gonna
yours.
be yours.
I knew that was going to be yours. I'm staring
Okay,
out.
let's go through notable absences. I almost took Vacation. I was this close to taking Vacation, but I knew I could get Fontaine's vote by having Rookie of the Year.
Three Amigos.
I have Three Amigos. Back to the
Yeah.
Future Part 2, Joe Flaherty.
Yeah.
I was on the fence for Father of the Bride.
Yeah. I could have gone
most of my
Surprise.
list has like more than one SCTV star in it. So I've got Splash, Eugene Levy and John Candy, Brother Bear, where
Splash, I know,
Bob
Splash
and
for
Doug
sure.
come back to do voice cameos, and Brewster's Millions.
Yep, I got Brewster's down here that have both of them.
One of the big ones for me that probably wouldn't have got me any votes, but as good as it gets.
Yeah, I had that in the possibles. I had After Hours, Flintstones, Captain Ron, Knocked Up, As Good as It Gets.
Uncle Buck.
Yeah, I'm surprised no one took
Buck's
Uncle Buck.
dude.
Okay, let me recap here, and then we can see this was AB's category or Jim's category.
This was Jim.
Yeah.
Do you have a replacement off the top of your head, or do you want to wait? And mull it
No.
over?
He doesn't get a replacement.
Oh, who does?
We gotta talk about it, but because it's
Okay.
never if your thing gets picked,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
miss a week, right?
Okay, so I'm going to recap here, and we'll get out of here on this. AB, you finished the draft with Home Alone, Happy Gilmore, Blues Brothers, Groundhog Day, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Ooh,
I left you Groundhog Day there. I didn't want it
smells like
back to back.
clicks.
Okay,
Smells like
yes.
clicks.
And it helps that you're in the first spot. Jim, Spaceballs, Cool Runnings, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Little Giants. Looking to go back to back. Ghostbusters, Nightmare Before Christmas, American Pie, Beetlejuice, and Rookie of the Year.
Sounds good.
Solid.
And then Matt, Strange Brew, Best in Show, Stripes, Follow That Bird, and Little Shop of Horrors. Definitely drafts for your tastes.
yeah, totally.
That Follow That Bird pick is.
It's got three SCT cast members in it.
round. Cool. I'll put that on the graphic. Asterisk. It has three SCTV alums. That's
Exactly, because it was
Asterisks.
SCTV alumni, so I went for more is better.
Most accurate. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not sure that's how it works, but
Okay.
oh, sure.
I'll get working on that graphic.
Cool.
Okay, that's this show.
Say goodnight, Kevin.